Robert Todd, Lloyd Smith.
Have you ever wished that your life was more interesting, more filled with memorable events? I have sometimes, fellow Toastmasters, but then I get to thinking, what if it was too interesting, had too many memorable events? Let's take a look at the life of somebody who had exactly that experience. Here's the scenario. Your train to Buffalo, New York was late, and you're hurrying along the sidewalk toward the Hall of Music at the Pan American Exposition on a beautiful September day in 1901. You are a senior statesman in the Republican Party. You're a former Secretary of War and Ambassador to Great Britain. You've been offered the vice presidential nomination 4 times, but you've refused to take it, any of them. President William McKinley has invited you to stand next to him in the reception line at the exposition. Just as you push through the door, you hear 2 gunshots, and the president falls to the floor. He will die about a week later. Obviously, this is a shocking and horrible event to everyone there. To you, however, it is oddly familiar, and that's because an event 20 years earlier is still very vivid in your mind. Here's the scenario. You are walking along the train platform of the 16th Street Railroad Station in Washington, D.C., next to Secretary of State James G. Blaine. President James Garfield is a step or 2 ahead of you, shaking hands and greeting well-wishers as you walk. You've been Secretary of War for about 6 months, and the President has invited you and Blaine to accompany him to his alma mater, where he's scheduled to give a speech. Suddenly, a man jostles between you and Blaine, raises a gun, and shoots President Garfield twice in the back. He'll die about 2 months later. Obviously, this is a horrible and shocking event to everyone there. To you, however, it is oddly familiar because you will never forget an event that happened 6 years previously. Here's the scenario. You are a young captain in the Union Army attached to the headquarters staff of General Ulysses S. Grant. You were standing directly in back of Grant when he accepted General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. You were in Washington, D.C. on a nice April day in 1865 to give your father an eyewitness account of that event. You arrived just after they left for the theater. You're tired, and so you're preparing for bed when a couple of Army officers appear, order you to get dressed and come with them. You get to Ford's Theater just in time to see your father, President Abraham Lincoln, being carried across the street to the Peterson House. He will die there the next morning while you are holding his hand. Obviously, this is a shocking and horrible event to everyone there. You, however, will get used to it as the years go on. That's because you are Robert Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's oldest son and the only one of his children to survive to adulthood. In the course of a distinguished 40-year career, you will be in close proximity to the first 3 presidential assassinations. After the 3rd one, William McKinley's in 1901, you will refuse all invitations to be near any president. You will write to a friend, "There is a certain fatality about presidential functions when I am present." You will not be joking. You are not known as a humorous man, and as we've seen, there are pretty good reasons for that. You will violate your promise just one time when President Warren G. Harding invites you to sit next to him during the dedication of the Lincoln Memorial in 1922. Though you will not be present, Harding will die mysteriously about a year later. Now, that sounds like enough excitement for nearly anybody, doesn't it? But there's one more scenario. It is December of 1864, about 5 months before your father's assassination. You're on a train platform in Jersey City, preparing to catch a train to go to Washington, D.C. for the holidays. The crowd is so thick on the platform that you are knocked off of your feet and you fall into the gap between the train and the platform. Your military greatcoat is so bulky that you can't push yourself up. Suddenly, someone grabs the collar of your coat and jerks you back up onto the platform. You turn around and immediately recognize that your rescuer is the most famous actor in America. That actor is Edwin Booth, the older brother of John Wilkes Booth, who will kill your father. Now, do you really want a more interesting life, or are you willing to put up with the one you've got?